How tough is it to be in your shoes today? Blackstone waited for a long time before they began investing in India and ended up investing when valuations were at their highest. A lot of the investee companies that you've invested in are half, or less than half perhaps, of the valuations that they were at the time that you invested in. So do you think perhaps Blackstone misread the markets, timed the investments wrong, perhaps was in a little bit of a hurry because you'd waited that long and ended up making a lot of investments in a short span of time?
I've got three misconceptions that I want to correct. First of all, it's not true that we invested at the top of the market. If you look at 3 deals we did, they were below when the Sensex was 10,000. And there were only 2 deals that we did that were above today's Sensex, and which is All Cargo and MTAR. And if you look at All Cargo, we also had a very creative instrument by which we were able to reduce the price effectively by 9%, and also through the warrant structure, reduce the price effectively by another 5%. And if you look at All Cargo's history, we have outperformed the market from anywhere from 30 to 40%. So that's first on All Cargo. The second deal we did, which was above the current Sensex level, was MTAR. And in fact, when we did the MTAR, we did not assume that the nuclear 123 deal will go. And with the passing of the nuclear 123 deal, the opportunity for MTAR is 5 times it was. So that's the first misconception I want to clear. Second, I think when you talk about the value being half, I think we must separate, and I'll give you, because we're a cricket country, let me give you an analogy from the cricket. You have a T20 game, you have a one-dayer, and you have a test match. So private equity, the kind of private equity that we participate in, is a long-term play, is a 5-year play. We are not like hedge funds where we have to focus on what's the value today, because many times hedge funds have the pressure of redemption, and they have to take the price today. They have to get out. Say, for example, I think the best illustration I can give you is Nagarjuna Construction. When we invested, the price was 200 rupees. In 6 months' time, the price went to 360. Right? We were not very excited about that because Nagarjuna was only about 5% ahead of our plan. In 6 months' time, the price went to 40. Right? Now, we didn't have to get out, but many of the hedge funds had to get out. We were not disheartened by that either, because they were only 5-10% behind the plan, and that too because of cyclical factors, not because of structural factors. We were very convinced, and in fact, if we could have bought, we would have bought more in the marketplace, but we could not because of the regulations here. But we were convinced that the structural story is intact, and we actually got engaged more with the company to see how we can take advantage of that situation. So today, that from 40, the stock is at 140. So it's like 3.5x in another 3 months' time. So I think there's a huge misperception, and that arises because people treat like T20, they judge the T20 the same way as a test match.
I think it's more of a concern because, as you said, 5 years is a kind of waiting period that you normally give, but it might take longer given the current market conditions.
But see, what we focus on, the important thing is what we focus on is operating performance. And the reason that we invest in companies is because we believe that we can add significant value, either through restructuring of the company or through working with the management. In pretty much all cases, we find that managements, they're like artists. They're great artists. They know the trade better than we do. But we can bring modern methods of management, processes, systems, networking that we have. We are a global firm, and for a firm of our small size, we're a very well connected firm. So we never have a problem in terms of introducing our companies to potential partners. I'll give you an example. We flew in an expert on manufacturing. He's our global head of manufacturing. He's been to Gokuldas 4 times in the last 4 months, and we have achieved an efficiency on a line which was about 50% to 89%, and that efficiency is maintained even when he's not there. The very differentiating feature of our firm is this value addition part of it. So we remain focused on, and in fact, I must tell you that if you look at India office, we have 2 people, very senior people, Richard Saldana, who used to be my superior senior in Unilever, and Gautam Chakravarti, who was also in Unilever and then with Reliance. Both are about the same, my age or even older than me, very experienced, and they have seen through different stages of the company. They are totally dedicated to only helping the portfolio companies. So as long as we are improving the operating performance, and as long as we are adding the value, right, we are satisfied. And in fact, there could not be better test for our portfolio companies than this global crisis. And I have to tell you that all our companies have stood the test extremely well. And in fact, let me give you the example of All Cargo. All Cargo's business is very much dependent on global trade. Now, anybody who's following the global trade, it's not difficult to imagine that their revenues must have dropped by 20-30%. And guess what? All Cargo is 70% ahead of the EBITDA than when we invested. And the reason is that we are investing in companies. The single most criteria for us is the quality of the management team. They are really leaders. And what happens in the times of crisis, the leaders actually get stronger. The leaders get comparatively much better than their competitors.
One of the companies, however, that you have quite a lot of holding in is, of course, Gokuldas. And that's a really big area of concern, because Gokuldas has really fallen in value post the $165 million deal. So when do you see returns coming in on that front? Do you give it 3 years, 4 years? And also, do you think perhaps it might take too long? Are you actually considering maybe also exiting? There was some talk of delisting as well a few months back. What are the options available?
See, again, Gokuldas, we are investing in the long term, and the long-term investment thesis is still intact. There's no denying of the fact that the end markets for Gokuldas had fallen completely because the U.S. consumer is not spending.
Right.
So the revenues, the volumes are down 10 to 15%, the pricing pressure of 10 to 15%. But the interesting thing, and this will come as a very surprise to a lot of you, is that in spite of that, Gokuldas met their budget last year on an operating basis. Now, there were cyclical factors because of hedging and all that stuff. We had rupee being highly volatile, and all companies that are export-oriented, even big companies, have lost money. So that is a one-time stuff. We don't worry about the one-time stuff. And the way I see it, I don't see that kind of situation coming again. And the second thing I want to share with you, as I mentioned before, that in tough times, the leaders come out ahead. There's a customer that I cannot share the names with, but one of the big customers of Gokuldas. They used to have 45 vendors across the world. Now, because their volumes dropped, they cut down the vendors from 45 to 5. And guess what? Gokuldas is the only one in India and one of the 5 in the world. So clearly, when the markets recover, when the consumers start to spend money, right? Gokuldas will have much larger market share. And we have used this opportunity, as I mentioned to you, that we flew in an expert. We are using this opportunity to make Gokuldas extremely efficient compared to what they were before. And clearly, we are competing with China, Bangladesh, and the most important thing and most important investment thesis that we had when we invested, that we'll be able to improve the efficiency dramatically. And we are on the right path. In fact, we are ahead of our plan in that respect.
Let's go to another one of the companies, Internet. Now, that's unlisted, but if we kind of take a sense from the kind of changes in valuations we've seen with the WNS or Genpact, then again, that's possibly, of course, been hit. So the question really with this one is, will you be happy with the kind of operating returns that you see coming your way? Because the 5 times returns might be some time away.
Again, you're so your perception is so wrong. Firstly, if you look at WNS and Genpact, both the stocks have tripled in the last 3 to 4 months. More importantly, for Internet's EBITDA in 2010 will be 3 times when we invested. We have 35% of Internet's revenues coming from our portfolio companies. So the synergies that we are seeing between our portfolio companies and Internet is really very, very strong. And we have 4 major customers of Internet which are part of portfolio companies, and that has all been facilitated by Blackstone. In fact, we have now 3 senior people in Blackstone whose job is to outsource to portfolio companies. And as Internet is demonstrating that it's capable of handling all the processes very well and satisfying and taking special care of our portfolio companies globally, I think success will lead to success, and we are very hopeful of the return that we expect from Internet.
So you're saying that...
in fact, Internet, I'll tell you, Internet is our largest investment and
exactly.
It's the best investment so far.
Right.
In